On Friday, a new wave of missiles was fired by Iranian forces as part of the 17th wave of Operation True Promise 3, the Persian nation's response to unprompted Israeli attacks. Russian President Vladimir Putin delivered Thursday his keynote address within the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, tackling several initiatives to boost their domestic economy. And the Colombian Senate approved a bill with a conciliation report that partially modifies labor regulations through a labor reform, which will provide better benefits for the labor sector. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. On Friday, a new wave of missiles was fired by Iranian forces as part of the 17th wave of Operation True Promise 3, the Persian nation's response to unprompted Israeli attacks. On the 8th day of the ongoing conflict started by Tel Aviv, missiles were seen over the occupied territories of Ramallah in the West Bank and the Haifa area in the north, and Beersheba, where 2 injured were reported. At least one missile fall was reported in Jerusalem as well. Local Israeli media confirmed at least 39 missiles hit targets across the country. In this context, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard informed this new wave used long-range missiles and drones against strategic military objectives, among them military factories and army command centers. On Friday, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi denounced the Israeli aggressions at the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva. At this regard, Araghchi explained that this is an unjust war imposed on the Iranian people since the early hours of June 13th, when Israel perpetrated a mix of unlawful and criminal operations against off-duty military personnel, university professors, and ordinary people. Iranians have been killed and injured following Israel's surprise attacks on residential areas, public infrastructure, hospitals, and health centers. He described the situation as a betrayal of diplomacy and an unprecedented blow to the foundation of international law and the United Nations system. We need action now, he said. Otherwise, the entire United Nations-based international legal system will crumble.
Iran is under a merciless act of aggression. This is crystal clear fact, must not be allowed to be twisted upside down by Israel and its backers. Israel's aggression on Iran cannot and must not be justified by any legal or moral standards. Any justification for this unjust and criminal war would be tantamount to complicity. Iran is defending itself against the barbaric aggression. We are entitled, tasked, and determined to defend our territorial integrity, national sovereignty, and security with all force. This is our inherent right. Our peaceful nuclear facilities have also been targeted, despite their being under full monitoring of IAEA, and despite the fact that attacking such facilities are absolutely banned under international law. Israeli attacks on nuclear facilities are grave war crimes, given also the danger of environmental and health catastrophe as the result of radiological leakage.
In this scenario, during his address at the United Nations Security Council on Friday, the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Rafael Grossi, warned against strikes on Iran's Bushehr nuclear plant, alerting of its negative environmental consequences.
Countries of the region have reached out directly to me over the past few hours to express their concerns, and I want to make it absolutely and completely clear. In case of an attack on the Bushehr nuclear power plant, a direct hit would result in a very high release of radioactivity to the environment. Agreement that brings peace and avoids.
The Iranian foreign minister, currently in Geneva, is holding talks with his counterparts from France, Germany and the UK, as well as the European Union's foreign policy chief. The meeting constitutes the first round of face-to-face talks between Western and Iranian officials since the start of Israel's attack on Iran a week ago. Ahead of the meeting, Araghchi said that the gathering will be solely focused on the nuclear issue and regional matters, disregarding any ceasefire talks as long as Israel continues its ongoing aggression on the Persian nation. On Friday, thousands rallied across Iran to denounce the ongoing Israeli aggression. The demonstrations held following prayers are called Friday of Anger and Victory in condemnation of the recent Zionist crimes against the people of Iran and Gaza. In addition, demonstrators rejected the threats made by U.S. President Donald Trump against the leader of the Islamic Republic, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Iranians from all social classes, religions and political sectors and ethnicities came out to protest despite the high temperatures and in support of the Persian nation's response to the Zionist attack. In this context, large mobilizations were reported in the southern city of Bandar Abbas in Tabriz, recently targeted by Tel Aviv strikes, and in Mashhad, northeastern Iran. Thousands of Yemenis took to the streets of the country's major cities to demonstrate solidarity with Iran and Palestine. Following Friday prayers, Yemenis gathered in the central squares of several cities holding signs that read, "We stand with Gaza and Iran against Zionist U.S. criminality." The demonstrators recognized the effectiveness of Iran's military operations, and they described these operations as a justified response to the actions of the Zionist regime of Israel. Yemenis also insist on boycotting U.S. and Israeli products to confront the regional enemy. In this context, Beirut citizens have joined the call to condemn and reject the aggression of the Israeli occupation forces against Iran. Members of the Hezbollah resistance movement made the call around the Al-Qaim Mosque in the southern part of the capital. Citizens reaffirmed their support for Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and urged the defense of Muslim authorities worldwide. They emphasized their respect for Iran's legitimate right to self-defense and independence and their commitment to continuing the fight against global injustice. 5.1 magnitude quake jolts northern Iran. A 5.1 magnitude earthquake struck northern Iran, according to the Euro-Mediterranean Seismological Center on Friday. The tremor occurred at a depth of 10 kilometers, approximately 125 kilometers south of Saudi, a city with a population of around 255,000, and 36 kilometers southwest of Semnan, which has a population of about 124,000. There have been no immediate reports of damage or casualties. At least 2 deaths have been confirmed in Mexico after Hurricane Eric doused the region. A 1-year-old boy drowned in a swollen river in Guerrero State, and a man was electrocuted while helping with debris removal in Oaxaca State, according to officials. Authorities reported landslides, blocked highways, downed power lines, and some flooding as coastal residents, above all in Acapulco, took the storm seriously, with memory memories of the devastating Hurricane Otis in 2023 still fresh in their minds. Eric wiped out power to more than 120,000 customers at one point. Restaurants, shops and supermarkets gradually reopened in Acapulco, but schools remained closed across Guerrero on Friday as authorities continued to assess damage, clear debris and monitor rising rivers. And now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates and more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. The Israeli occupation army committed 2 new massacres, killing 41 Palestinians. 27 of the victims were killed while collecting food at a distribution center in the Gaza Strip. According to the Wafa news agency, Zionist troops opened fire on people seeking help near the Netzarim corridor in central Gaza. The famine-stricken Palestinian population gathers daily at various distribution points to receive packages from the Gazan Humanitarian Foundation. The foundation is supported by the United States and Israel, but condemned by the United Nations for weaponizing aid. Russian President Vladimir Putin delivered Thursday his keynote address within the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, tackling several initiatives to boost their domestic economy. The head of state attached importance to harness the state-of-the-art technologies to guarantee not only their development but also their defense. He proposed to modernize military facilities and referred to using drones and artificial intelligence in surveillance systems, among others. Likewise, he highlighted Russia's focus on modernizing state programs and digitalizing information while praising the growth of the nation's GDP.
The perception of Russian economy as based on raw materials and dependent on hydrocarbon exports have clearly become outdated. It is receding into the past. The reality suggests Russia takes the 4th place in the world in gross domestic product and the 1st place in Europe. GDP of Russia has increased 1.5% in annual terms for the first 4 months of this year, including in April when the growth speeded up 1.9%. At the same time, some specialists and experts point out the risks of stagnation and even recession. It mustn't be allowed in any case.
In this context, while speaking at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum on Thursday, the president of BRICS Africa Channel, Ayanda Olo, highlighted the role of cooperation and partnership to enhance the values of Global South media.
Yes, BRICS Africa, we are very, very in the best position because we participate and share with Venezuela. We are partners with China. We do work with Russia. And we can see the patterns of it's actually, the frameworks are very, very similar. So the way we tell the story is not just only on the infrastructure of the tools, but who is designing the algorithms. We need to start with the powers we have so that we can tell our story the way that really enhances our own values. It is not about just getting into be popular. Most of our youth are really, really popular online with values that do not empower them. So we definitely need to really, really self-reflect.
Those are the questions and the things that... In other news, Niger announced Thursday its plans to nationalize the SUR uranium joint venture operated by the French nuclear fuel company Urano. The statement detailed that such sovereign decision had been made to nationalize SUR in the face of the irresponsible, illegal and unfair behavior of Urano, a French state-owned company. It is worth highlighting that France has been openly hostile to Niger for decades. Urano gained a 63% stake in SUR, while the Nigerian state-owned company Sopamin owned the rest, but the French operator had been excluded since the military-led government took control of the uranium mine. Transportation unions in Italy called a general strike demanding better wages and benefits. In a communique, the union announced a strike in land, air and maritime transportation, demanding increased income and reduced working hours for workers. The union also demands increased investment in health, education, transportation and labor safety due to the high rate of accidents and deaths during working hours. The strike also condemns Israel's aggression against the people of the Gaza Strip and its recent offensive against Iran. And we have a second short break coming up before we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. The Colombian Senate approved a bill with a conciliation report that partially modifies labor regulations through a labor reform, which will provide better benefits for the labor sector. The initiative was approved by the Senate with 59 votes in favor and 16 against. The Chamber of Representatives endorsed the bill with 126 votes in favor and 2 against. The bill proposes increasing the overtime pay for holiday and Sunday work, restoring the labor rights of SENASA apprentices and placing limits on fixed-term contracts. The labor reform is awaiting President Gustavo Petro's signature to become officially law, which will happen within the next few days. In Panama, labor and social organizations will march Friday to demand the repeal of a pension regulation in the country. Trade unions stated that the march will start from Urraca Park in Panama City to Cinco de Mayo Square in the vicinity of the National Assembly, where they will present their claims. Demonstrators will also reject an agreement signed between the Molina government and the United States that allows the establishment of military bases and the entry of troops from that country. They further labeled the agreement as harmful to national sovereignty. Likewise, marchers will also denounce the persecution and imprisonment of union leaders, as well as judicial and police repression of protests. In Argentina, the unemployment rate rose to 7.9%, the highest figure since 2021 and the highest in the administration of President Javier Milei. The National Institute of Statistics and Census reported that unemployment increased by 1.5% in the fourth quarter of 2024. The number of unemployed in the 31 largest urban conglomerates in the first quarter of 2025 was more than 1,100,000 people, almost 200,000 more than in the previous quarter. Buenos Aires is the most affected region with an unemployment rate of 9.1%. This situation has worsened since the arrival of Javier Milei to the presidency when, at the end of 2023, he implemented a severe adjustment plan that affects several productive sectors. Former Argentinian President Christina Fernandez de Kishner denounced a police operation at her home, targeting the demonstrations of support from her followers. Through a post on her social media X, Kishner informed that without a warrant and in a completely illegal manner, Patricia Bullrich mounted a police operation at my front door with the sole aim of provoking conflicts that until now have never happened. She highlighted that all the demonstrations in recent days, including the massive mobilization that overflowed the Plaza de Mayo, were carried out peacefully and with perfect order and respect for public and private property. In this sense, Kishner warned that the security minister sought to create chaos to favor the current government. When a local government tried to shut Brazil's largest urban social movements out of an important political space, they fought back and won. Our correspondent Brian Meir has more.
Preparations for this year's National Cities Conference got off to a rough start in Recife, as three of Brazil's largest urban social movements united to push their way into and shut down the Municipal Cities Conference, an important space for people's participation which cedes control over parts of urban policy to a democratically elected volunteer delegate system.
Recife Mayor João Campos is holding a totally fake conference. This conference doesn't represent the city's real social movements.
In 2003, the urban social movements pressured President Lula to create a national cities ministry controlled by a national system of voluntary delegates elected at the city, state, and national levels, with guaranteed 51% majority for social movements. In 2016, President Michel Temer shut it down. This year, the Lula administration will hold the first national conference in 11 years, but many local governments are working to stifle participation.
The mayor's office created a commission to simply cut delegates from the social movements that fight for and create social housing in the city of Recife. For example, we registered 30 delegates to participate in the conference and they cut 28 of them. The MTST, UNMP, MLB, and the MNLM and the other people's housing movements don't agree with this. Today, either they will open space for a representative number of delegates from the social movements that are really building the city of Recife, or we are going to shut this conference down.
Together, the social movements marched into the convention hall where the municipal conference was taking place. They pushed past the municipal guard and stormed the stage. There they announced that they weren't leaving and began to sing as nervous bureaucrats fretted. Within minutes, the movement leaders were meeting with Recife's housing secretary, who agreed to cancel the conference and schedule a new one with more delegate space for housing movements.
We had to do what we always do. They only decide to listen to us when we burst into their space and show that we are ready to fight. Then they know they can't exclude us. When we show who we are, come into their space and demonstrate the power of the people, they start listening to us. If we don't do this, they completely ignore us.
Elected city delegates will attend state conferences in August. There, 5,000 delegates from every state in Brazil will be elected to participate in the national conference in September, where they will have the power to introduce and ratify new federal urban policies. Brian Meir, teleSUR, Recife.
And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net, and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok as well. For telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.